And we start off with Machine Gun Kelly v. Slipknot, the beef that is now playing out across festivals nationwide. The real problem at the core of all this seems to be that Machine Gun Kelly is what I like to refer to as bitch parts. He's bitch made. There's a lot of stuff he's done, just even in this little stretch, that you can see really clear and consistent markings of a bitch-made ass motherfucker. Machine Gun Kelly, who of course started off as a rapper, he got into a beef with Eminem. Eminem just fucking pecker slapped him. He was annihilated and really made to look like a little bitch. And it left a stain on him that really put him out of hip-hop altogether. Because from there on in, anytime you would talk about Machine Gun Kelly, inevitably they were going to be like, oh yeah, Eminem fucked this guy up. And it haunted him. Now he becomes a wannabe actor. He ends up in a straight-to-TV Netflix movie about Motley Crue. In making that film, Machine Gun Kelly, it seems like he fell in love with the rock star aesthetic and the whole concept of the rock star. And it seems like that, more so than anything, is what drove him into, I guess, pop punk, rock music in general. He learns how to play guitar, kinda. He puts out an album. He gets Travis Barker, his fingerprints are all over Machine Gun Kelly's entire presentation. So anyways, the way it goes down is Slipknot, of course, is higher up on the bill than Machine Gun Kelly. He has a big album, certainly, but at a rock festival, Slipknot is clearly the big swinging dick when you're talking about setting a show up. If you've been to festivals, you know that a lot of times you just have to fucking ditch a show because a lot of the shows, they overlap. So you might have to ditch the end of somebody that you don't necessarily give a fuck about to go see a band that you really want to see. And this is what happened to Machine Gun Kelly. He was getting to the end of his set. Slipknot's set was going to start. So everyone starts taking the fuck off. And it's noticeable when it happens. If you've ever been to a festival, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Machine Gun Kelly sees this. So he fired the first shot. When he shouted at the crowd that was leaving en masse, he says, hey, you want to know what I'm really happy that I'm not doing? Being 50 years old, wearing a fucking weird mask on a fucking stage, talking shit. So anyway, what's everyone's favorite candy? Reese's Pieces? And it certainly didn't stop anybody from going to see the 50-year-old guys in weird masks. Something about metal fans, I mean, we are fucking fanatical. And once you're made with us, you're made for good. And really, it shows how little Machine Gun Kelly actually knows about the culture of hard rock and heavy metal. If you have a gimmick and we love you, we never want you to stop, and we never want to see you without the fucking gimmick. I mean, look at Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper, he's an elderly man, but if he fucking puts that paint on his face, you know, we throw the devil horns up. We're like, fuck yeah, Alice Cooper. Kiss. They're old as fuck. They're wearing leotards. Their fucking tits are all hanging out the side and all that. Their chest hair's all gray and fucked up. They look like shit. Even with the makeup, they're looking saggy. It looks like Kiss is melting. But that being said, 10 out of 10, you want Kiss there in the makeup. You want shit blowing up because it's fucking Kiss. We love those guys. And the same is true of Slipknot. You can't shame metal people for getting old. You can't shame metal people for their gimmicks and shit like that. Metal is kind of fucking absurd in general when you look at it. And with Slipknot, they better be wearing the fucking masks. We want them like vomiting on stage, because that's how Slipknot do. At the end of Machine Gun Kelly's thing that he said, he refers to them talking shit. And so people start looking into it, and they found a quote from Corey Taylor. Corey Taylor, if he doesn't have his own podcast, he fucking should, because that guy's got a lot to say. He's got an opinion on everything. It's a big meme in the rock world. You know, hey, what does Corey Taylor think? And so somebody found a quote that I guess was taken as a shot at MGK. And the quote is this. This is Corey Taylor saying this. lead singer of Slipknot, for those who don't know. The young artists that really frustrate me are the ones that they take something that's been around forever and then just basically rework it and call it new, even though it's completely derivative.
Derivative?
You know the band they're ripping off. They're not even trying to rip off a bunch of bands. They're ripping off one band, but the younger generation picks them up and says, this is our blah, 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 because they're tired of old people telling them that the music that came before them was better. And I don't know who's right, but I know both are wrong, because we should be encouraging everything. That's the big fucked up thing. You know, Machine Gun Kelly, when he first dropped that album, you know, it was getting a lot of hype. So I said, well, fuck, let me see what it's all about. I tried listening to it. It's what Corey Taylor says it is. It sounds like almost template YouTube pop punk shit. And in a lot of ways, it really is clearly a rock and roll cosplay. It's not like he's the fresh young guy on the block. I understand compared to Slipknot, but if you're going to be like, oh, dude, you're old. He's 30. I think he's 31. Bro, you're not cutting edge. So, of course, now that he's talked shit about Slipknot, there is a big blowback online and just in general to Machine Gun Kelly. So he comes out and he tried to paint Corey Taylor, lead singer of Slipknot, as being bitter that he wasn't on that album. And here's a quote. Corey did a verse for a song on Tickets to My Downfall album. It was fucking terrible, so I didn't use it. He got mad about it and talked shit to a magazine about the same album he was almost on. Y'all's stories are all off. Just admit he's bitter. Now, what he's essentially saying there is that Corey Taylor is just mad. He wanted to be on the fucking album, and so he just mad now. This guy acts like his one shitty album is just like some all-time golden classic. So in the wake of that, once again, you can only fuck with Corey Taylor so much before he's gonna say something. So he comes back and responds to that via tweet and says, and I quote, I don't like people airing private shit like a child. So this is all I'll say. I didn't do the track because I don't like when people try to write for me. I said no to them. Without further ado, hashtag receipts. This is all I'm going to say about it. And he released screen captures. These are emails from Travis Barker to Corey Taylor about, I guess, some shit that they were talking about doing on a song. So he says, yo, Corey, we love it. Peep these notes from Kells. It's super fucking close. And just that little bit, that little peek into how Travis Barker actually talks, it really scares the shit out of me. But these are the notes from my boy Kells, Machine Gun Kelly. Yo, Trav, I got super inspired again after listening to Corey's vocals on Can't Look Back and added some guitars over his part so it kicks you in the face when his voice comes in. Number one, can you tell him he fucking killed it? And I'm stoked and honored he's even on it. WTF? Dude, I'm reading this. I'm like, my balls are sucking up into my pelvic cavity. These guys are cringy as fuck. Obviously, Machine Gun Kelly's always throwing around the whole like, oh, you're old and all that. This guy's 31 and he talks like this. I mean, he sounds like a fucking little kid. It's like you're putting together a high school project or some shit like that. But here he is saying Corey Taylor fucking killed it. This is in a private message. Corey Taylor killed it, and I'm honored that he would even be on it. What the fuck? Which is saying like, man, this guy's bigger than my project, which we can all agree on. Number two thing that Machine Gun Kelly had to say. I've been watching the news lately about the war and the state of everything, and it makes me look at the song a different way. Like soldiers need a song to stay alive to, a song to fight to, keep them going. I added a bridge that makes the last chorus pretty powerful. I think you and him will dig it. You want to talk about bitch parts. Holy Jesus. If I was Machine Gun Kelly, I would read this back and be just so incredibly embarrassed. That is such a super red leveled narcissistic thing to say. Your shitty pop punk album is going to keep the troops alive in Afghanistan. And I mean, it goes on and on. I'm not going to read the entire email, but, he's just basically saying, I added this, I did that. And he seems very excited about it for a guy who wants to come out publicly and say, he tried this. It was fucking terrible. So fuck him. So to even throw it out there like very flippant, like he wasn't good enough for my shitty pop punk album. It's just it doesn't make sense. Then Corey includes his reaction, his response to Travis Barker, and he says, "Hey man, sorry I missed your call last night. By the way, I'm on dad hours. Haha. So I listened to the ideas, and to be honest, I don't think I'm the right guy for this track. Nothing personal. I just think if this is what MGK is looking for, someone else is the guy to do it. It's all good, and I'm stoked for him. I hope you guys find the right fit for it. Hope you understand, and I wish you guys the best with it. If I can help in any way, let me know. All the best, Corey Taylor." So what this shows is that, yes, it's true, Corey was gonna be on the album. He laid some shit down. When he saw these insipid notes from Machine Gun Kelly, he probably had the same reaction I just did reading it and said, holy shit, I am not going to work with this motherfucker and take his notes on my shit. Machine Gun Kelly, fuck you. And this is the very, very nice way of saying that. So when you put all these parts together and you look at all the evidence as a whole, here's clearly what happened. Machine Gun Kelly wanted Corey Taylor on his album. Corey Taylor was like, open to it. Let's see what's up. He put something out there. Machine Gun Kelly fucking adds all this shit. I'm going to make this a song for the soldiers to fight to and all this like over the top self-important bullshit. Corey Taylor sniffed it out, said this is nothing I want to be involved with. Told him to fuck off in a very nice way, mind you. Went on his way. Machine Gun Kelly puts the album out. It does very well. They end up on the same show. Machine Gun Kelly, in fact, being the one who's bitter about it, sees all his fucking quote unquote fans leaving, and he's here playing. He clearly thinks the whole fucking world hinges on his music and all that shit. So when he sees his audience leaving en masse to go watch the guy that turned him down to be on his album and theoretically talked some shit too, you get mad. Machine Gun Kelly lashes out in very bitchy sort of ways. And this continues going forward because now that he's fucked with Slipknot, the Slipknot fans clearly got a wicked boner over it, a hate boner, because then the next weekend at the Louder Than Life festival, Machine Gun Kelly comes out, starts playing his set, and people posted a ton of videos of the show, and you could see as his set started to go, people started to put their middle fingers in the air. And song by song, the reaction starts to get more and more mixed. And eventually it comes to the point where it sounds like a large group of the audience are booing Machine Gun Kelly. And you can see that there's a lot of middle fingers in the air, and this fucking made me feel so goddamn good. This is reminiscent of old school heavy metal fanaticism. Heavy metal gets shit on so much, and to see the fans coming together in hatred of somebody, it makes me feel very sweet and warm, all deep down in my tummy. Now from there, Machine Gun Kelly's bitchery continued, because at some point he goes out into the crowd, considering there was such a hostile element there to him. He was probably being told some things, and Machine Gun Kelly, as we've seen, he reacts in a very over-the-top sort of way. He's out there in the crowd. Of course, he's surrounded in security, which is a bitch move already. I've seen a lot of rock and metal musicians dive out into the crowd, charge out into the crowd. They don't go with security. In fact, they have an antagonistic relationship with security. They don't like security. Machine Gun Kelly goes out into the crowd completely flanked in security. And so a bunch of kids are running up, and he takes like a very bitchy punch at a kid who's already being restrained by security. It was a very bad look, very shitty, lame ass thing to do. If you read the headlines, it would say Machine Gun Kelly takes swing at fan. The reality is Machine Gun Kelly was trying to take a very bitchy swipe at some kid who was already being restrained by security. So, I mean, he's a bitch, man. And once again, at the end of the day, you put everything on the table. It's clear Machine Gun Kelly is bitter. Machine Gun Kelly is butthurt, personally by Corey Taylor. And when he sees his audience leaving to go watch that damn son of a bitch who hurt my feelings, he made a little bitchy comment. And then once people reacted to it, he doubled down because he's a fame whore. And he told a straight up lie. And the problem with telling straight up lies these days is oftentimes people have the receipts. Corey Taylor had them, put him out there, made MGK look like even more of a bitch. And he is revealed to be a real squirrely little fucking lion son of a bitch. If he doesn't watch out, he may get thrown out of rock music on his ass. Because once you have disrespected Slipknot, their fans will have a hate boner for you forever. Heavy metal fans, they're a salty bunch of motherfuckers. And even if you don't like Slipknot, just the fact that they know that you, Machine Gun Kelly, are triggered by Slipknot, they're going to continue to fuck with you and say Slipknot-y shit at you. So if you're Machine Gun Kelly, I don't know, man. His most recent show got canceled because of, I don't know if it was weather or COVID or whatever, but it did get canceled. He probably could benefit from just laying low for a sec. I think maybe Machine Gun Kelly might have tugged on Superman's cape a little bit and not even realized he was doing it. But if anything else happens in regards to this story, of course, we will keep you up to date on it. So moving on.